paper 3, which is very, I think, dynamic also and very scoring also. People are having a lot of laurels in paper 3. So unfortunately, marks are not yet out. I think more 10 to 12 days are there. Otherwise, there would have been much more clarity. Yes. But I must ask one thing, that in paper 3, there is one document or one report which you must all have to read. That is the Economic Survey of India. But it is a grand booklet. Sometimes it is one, sometimes it is two, volume 1 and volume 2. So how do you take out something relevant which you can use in your answers in paper 3 in the Economic Survey of India? Because ultimately it is the government data, and it is the genuine data rather than any other paper report or something like that. So I want to ask how you utilize, Sanjita and Muskan, the Economic Survey of India.
Personally, I really love reading Economic Survey. I have a very special liking towards it because it is a very detailed book, and many things are given in a very detailed manner. So I always follow Economic Survey, and I read a chapter and I make 1-page note out of it. So that all the main points, like I remember the 2017 Economic Survey, 2018-19 Economic Survey, which I had read, there were very specifically, it had mentioned that the meta problems India is facing is agriculture, youth and education. If I'm not, employment, agriculture and education, if I'm right. So these are very opening lines. Economic Survey, I find many opening lines which can be used in your answers. That helps me a lot. Economic Survey part 2 is more about facts and figures. So I usually read the first chapter and do not go beyond. Economic Survey part 1 is something I usually read the complete one, because you get many points to add. So it's important.
What do you think on this, Muskan? Economic Survey of India's relevance in your paper 3?
It is important. Like there are many things which can be used in our answer writing from Economic Survey. So for Economic Survey, what I did was I used to refer these debates on Rajya Sabha TV related to the survey and budget also. And Yojana special edition they release about the Economic Survey, in which the summary is covered very nicely. So I did not read the survey totally. I would refer to the summaries. Yes.
So these days we are facing the COVID-19 pandemic, and as you all know that government has used Disaster Management Act 2005 and Epidemic Diseases Act. So because this is a part of paper 3, so what is your suggestion to the future aspirants, like if such thing happens? So what they need to read out of the National Disaster Management Act or the Epidemic Diseases Act?
I haven't read the complete act. It's so vast, and there's very detailed acts for flood, cyclone. There are very specific parts. The National Disaster Management Plan has this for every. So whenever I used to prepare for any specific phenomenon, so like urban flooding, there was a problem of urban flooding last year. So there, in National Disaster Management Plan, there was a specific guidelines how to manage that. So whenever any issues used to come, so then I used to refer the crisp notes which is available online to go for that. And Epidemic Disease Act is a very small act with 4 points, so that can be read. So it depends. When it's a very big act, you can extract the points which is already available online, relevant to whatever is happening. Like urban flooding is a recurrent phenomenon, drought is a repeated phenomenon, so you can use those parts. So I think it's relevant, very relevant.
Okay, what is your view on this, Muskan? Like putting acts and some sections in your answer will help you, garner some extra marks. Do you think so?
Yes, it helps. I'd like to add upon. So there's this section in Indian Express, the explain page. Whatever relevant is going on, they usually cover. So I would cover the important acts from there. Many of the good points are covered there, and those can be used in answers in a very precise manner. That helps a lot.
I think very aptly pointed out by both the officers that the explain page in the Indian Express give you what you need to jot down in your copies. Apart from this, paper 3 has a very dynamic portion, and this year also science and technology is very important in prelims as well as in mains. So there are multiple or varied ranges of questions like science and technology related. If I remember, like question maybe come on robotics and AI, like just say a question on cyber dome. It is like a bouncer to the students. They do not understand. So how do you feel like, I mean, you write something if you are totally unaware of the question, or you leave it unattended? What is your strategy to take down such questions in which you have no knowledge completely, or very feeble knowledge, if I must say?
I usually avoid because if you write any gibberish in such a big exam, I think sometimes it gets you a very negative perception. And the question was actually on question number 10, I suppose, in 10 markers.
Yes.
So it was the last question which I attended. So the time was running out. I was saying, thank God, the time is running out. So I wrote 2 lines and then I realized, no, Sanjita, you're not doing justice. So let's not ruin the whole paper by writing something which the examiner may not appreciate. I absolutely had no idea. Even if I had feeble idea, I would have mentioned something, but I did not have any idea about it. So I did not attend. But if you have a feeble idea, but as Muskan had said earlier, that we have to be a bit intelligent sometimes in such kind of answers. You cannot score 60% in all the answers. There will be 7 to 8 very good answers, there will be 7 to 8 average answers, and some 3-4 below average answers. So this one was, imagine there is a below average answer, and write judiciously. Don't write gibberish. This doesn't look good. So don't do that.
Yes, I think the stratification by you is totally correct. Now coming to one important aspect of paper 3, that is internal security. Don't you think these days it is clubbed with the international relationship also, like what is happening in the Galwan Valley region, or the Depsan Plains, and the whole tension between India and China? So I think what kind of attention should pay while addressing coming back to Indian neighbors? There are questions related to tension between Indo-Nepal these days. You must have read somewhere, like the Kali River issues and all those stuffs. So these internal security implications have some international, fringe also. What do you think about this, Sanjita and Muskan?
So for me, these issues I used to cover from newspaper articles. Some very good articles and points are written on these issues. Also, the big picture on Rajya Sabha TV is very much helpful for such kind of issues going on internationally. They provide you opinion from the experts, and they cover almost all the dimensions like related to India or the international dimensions. From there, we can have a better understanding of the topic.
So I would like to add upon what Muskan said is, we cannot read in silos when we are dealing with the UPSC syllabus. You have to be able to relate international relations in GS2 and GS3 internal security. When you are answering in GS3, you have to put in dimension of international relations in that as well. So you cannot miss it out that I am talking about this, so I'll miss that point. No. Don't read in silos, because in GS1 there are topic about geography and environment, and it again repeats in GS3. So it will be related. And she very rightly said, when you see RSTV, that's what the government's viewpoint is. When you read on newspapers, sometimes what happens, there are certain biasness. So always take the stand of government, because I'll just give a short example. India-Nepal issue, there was talks that Nepal tried to approach India and India did not respond back. That was on the news for a long time. But when you answer such questions, you have to put in that government stand, the MES stand, what it was. So
yes,
always put on the government stand, because when we read newspaper, it comes from various sources. So try to go to authentic sources and put in the government stand, because that is what is the official stand, and we should stick to that. Try to do that.
Yeah, I want to add one thing. Like in the newspaper, the views are personal of some scholars, so they may be biased sometimes
Yes.
to criticize the government. But you are asking a job from the government, so be careful, I think.